Hey guys, how's it going? It's Al. It is exactly that time of year again. DraftKings has just released their week 1 salaries, so we're going to go over a way too early first look. This is the first time, obviously, these salaries just came out like an hour ago. I've been bantering with the chat on Twitch about different players at different prices, possible strategies. It's obviously way too early, and everything's going to change throughout preseason. We're going to get new values that pop up because of injury or because of players getting signed with new teams. Why are we doing this early? Because it's fun. And it's okay to have fun. Even if this is not going to be the lineup we use in week 1, let's peruse the salaries at quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, and defense and see if we can't piece together a usable lineup for week 1 here. About a month, 5 weeks before kickoff. So thank you guys for watching. Drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, ring the notifications bell. Leave me a reply down below letting me know at this point of the preseason, what is your favorite stack looking at the salaries? What is your favorite stack and bring back looking at the salaries, looking at what the odds are on these games, which are the games that you're targeting? And let's go.
He's a legend.
All right, so DraftKings has 2 millionaire makers for week 1. There's a $2.5 million one that starts at a $100 price point, and then the $5 million one that is a $5 price point. Get in where you fit in. So let's just build a lineup here for this. I'm just using this as the shell. We're not entering it in anything right now. Let's go through all the different prices of quarterbacks. Now, as we know, quarterback prices and how much we want to play them in cash games specifically, but also in tournaments because of what we're tying to them. We're not just going to play a quarterback randomly in a tournament. We're going to try and correlate and stack them and use a bring back player from the other team, or double stack them, bring back somebody from the other team. We need to kind of look at the betting odds for week 1. So Buffalo Bills and Rams off the main slate. It's going to be a fun showdown on that Thursday night football game. Eagles and Detroit, over under 46.5. Colts and Texans 44. Ravens and Jets 45. Ravens favored by 6 in that one. Patriots and Miami supposed to be close in a 44. All these are kind of low. 49ers Bears at 42. Projectably very slow game. Bears projected to struggle offensively. The team total here is not going to be very high at all. You're looking at like a 24.5 team total, 25 team total for the 49ers. Saints 41 total against Atlanta. Ew. Jacksonville Jaguars against Washington 43.5. Like, unless these games really massively go over the total, all these are the early games. You see 10 a.m. because I'm on the West Coast, which is the best coast, the only legitimate time zone. The Browns against the Panthers 41. Ugh. And then we get to the afternoon games. Giants, Titans, okay. Like, this is the Vince McMahon meme, right? Where he's like, yeah. Packers, Vikings, yeah. Raiders, Chargers, 52, oh. And then Chiefs, Cardinals, the last game on the main slate, kicking off at 125, 125, 125 for these three. 53, right? Absolutely absurd. Any one of these could shoot out really close, really high team totals, high-powered offenses. Obviously, anything can happen, right? But realistically speaking, you're not going to be able to win, I don't think, unless you have PMR. PMR is going to be your friend in week 1. So unless you have players from these games in the afternoon, it's going to be tough for you without any player minutes remaining to win these games. So that's the first overarching look for week 1, is that the late games are going to be very important, and correlating through them is also going to be important. But Patrick Mahomes, the most expensive quarterback in week 1, clearly a shootout situation, contributes with his legs, but like not a running quarterback, more of a mobile quarterback, but one of the best in the world when it comes to what he can do through the air. Loses Tyreek Hill, so it's still going to be interesting to see what type of numbers he can put up on a game-to-game basis, because Tyreek Hill, not unlike Randy Moss, not unlike Deshaun Jackson, guys who can improve a quarterback's YPA, guys that can improve a quarterback's rating and everything because of what they do to opposing defenses to allow everything else to happen in the short and intermediate zone. So I still think Mahomes is going to be great, but I want to compare, and we're not going to find this out until next summer. I'm going to want to compare this season of Mahomes to past seasons, the one without Tyreek Hill in it. So 7,700 tournament play. All these are tournament plays, right? Let's just, everybody is a tournament play as long as you're playing them correctly, as long as you're stacking and double stacking and using a bring back along with your quarterback. The quarterback is like Taco Bell, as we've said before. Taco Bell is not there to make money on serving you tacos and burritos and Mexican pizzas. Taco Bell is there to sell you Pepsi products. So the quarterbacks are basically just our way to get access to the passing game. Herbert, same idea if we're double stacking him in, again, one of the top games of the day. Lamar Jackson, though, is back, theoretically healthy. At least right now he's healthy, right? He has the possibility to blow the roof off of this slate. One, against the Jets, albeit at the Jets, and because of the solid or very tightly packed targets that he's going to have. He basically has two guys that he's going to funnel his targets to. There's not going to be a ton of them, right? Like last year he threw the ball a lot. 40 attempts for Lamar Jackson typically should lead to massive games. It did not in these three, but like you see this one where he threw 41 times against Minnesota, ended up with 35.5 points, 45 points here. He threw it 43 times. Pass attempts don't necessarily lead to fantasy points for quarterbacks when you have a quarterback that runs it 10 plus times on the game and is much of a threat to add that much floor through his rushing yardage and rushing touchdown ceiling. When he's throwing the ball a lot, there's more opportunity for him to throw for touchdowns. And because they're going to go to two guys, Rashad Bateman and Mark Andrews, he is an extremely stackable quarterback, and especially in week one. And I want to see what the environment is, what people think if they're going to go with him. So he would be one of the early slate guys that I would probably want to get onto in terms of tournaments. Kyler Murray, I've done all the Kyler bits already. He came out and listed off all of his career accomplishments for us. Look, we're going to have to view him kind of like BC and AD with calendars. We're going to have to view Kyler Murray with BCOD and ACOD. It's a new metric that I created before Call of Duty is released and after Call of Duty is released. Right now we are in BCOD part of the season. And as long as we are in the BCOD part of the season, his fantasy expectation is greater than in the ACOD part of the season. I believe that starts in week 7. So play Kyler Murray in one of the highest totaled games, or the highest totaled game on the slate. One of the 3 games that we are going to be targeting mostly in this week, and most other people are going to be targeting in week 1 as well. So that's as much of the Kyler bit as you're going to get from me right now. Aaron Rodgers loses one Hall of Famer, but as he said, replaces him with Allen Lazard, another Hall of Famer. Aaron Rodgers is going to do what Aaron Rodgers does. And fading him is probably a big mistake, especially considering that Minnesota has said that they are going to be moving to a more pass-first offense, right? They are going to come into the 21st century. They're going to throw the ball a lot more. Now, that's good because, targets are worth more than rush attempts, but also that means more plays, right, per game. When you throw the ball more, you're going to throw incomplete passes. When you throw incomplete passes, the clock stops. That's a good thing because then you get more plays just for you and the other team. So for us as daily fantasy players, that's pretty phenomenal. If you're telling me that Aaron Rodgers is going to get more attempts to throw the football, great. Who are you going to stack him with, though? Because Allen Lazard is the number 1 guy. Maybe Romeo Doubs, fan favorite here of the stream, Romeo Doubs. We go way back, about a month when Rich Rebar brought him up on stream, and I had no idea who he was. I still don't know who he is, but apparently he looks like a superstar in camp through the first week. Tunyon, I don't know who he's going to throw the ball to. Maybe they sign Will Fuller, and he gets a very viable deep threat to kind of open everything up underneath because Lazard is a close to the line of scrimmage guy as well. But if they're going to get more snaps on both sides, very stackable game. Jalen Hurts, when he is on, he is a guy who can score a ton of fantasy points. The problem with Jalen Hurts, for DFS specifically, and maybe this changes with A.J. Brown now in the fold and taking the place of Jalen Reagor in the offense. They still have a great play at tight end with Goddard and an emerging DeVonta Smith, who I really like as a player. Now there's more guys for him to throw to. The problem is, how many times are they going to throw it? Now, if he's going to throw it 43 times, there is a great chance that he has a lot of points. If he only throws it 17 times, he has to be hyper efficient in order for him to sustain a stack or a double stack. So skinny stacks with Hurts would probably be my preferred method in tournaments if you're going to play him. Everybody's favorite offseason guy, Joe Burrow, minus his appendix. Cool Joe Joe Cool is now sitting in a beautiful spot at 6,400 only. I kind of feel like he should be at least 6,800. So we're getting a slight discount. There's guys on this slate. It's week 1. So a lot of players are going to be heavily discounted. We'll get to some of them in just a bit. But Joe Burrow easily double stacked, right? Obviously Jamar Chase. T. Higgins would be the secondary guy. If you want to get spicy with Boyd, or somebody nobody's going to play is Double H Hurst, stepping into the CJ Uzomah role in the offense. Joe Burrow is an extremely stackable player against Pittsburgh, and there are multiple bring back players on Pittsburgh who are not priced at a ridiculous level where we can't get to them. And it still allows you to have secondary stacks or one-off plays from the later games that we really want to attack. Kirk Cousins, we mentioned how much they are projecting to throw the ball a lot more this season. Obviously, you've got JJ, you've got Thielen. And one of the biggest values on the slate, in my opinion, is Irv Smith, who's like, I think he is mispriced. There's a few players that I think are mispriced. He's one of them. We're going to get to all the rest. Trey Lance is 6K. Don't know who you're going to stack him with, but on a per dropback basis, has scored more fantasy points than most. Derek Carr in a ridiculously high totaled game, and probably is going to get you off the chalk by playing 2 Raiders in tournaments, but we don't know what the chalk's going to be yet because we're 5 weeks from kickoff. And then we get to like the really cheap options. Matt Ryan's 5,500 against Houston. Everybody loves Michael Pittman, so there's your stack. Considering that when we get to running back, you'll see where I'm going. I think that's going to be a little bit more contrarian to use a stack or a double stack with Matt Ryan, because everybody is and should be playing Jonathan Taylor in their cash games, which means that when they make 1 or 2 lineups in tournaments, they're not going to get away from, I expect Jonathan Taylor's number on percentage to be very high. And then you've got a couple of really cheap value plays. Zach Wilson at 5,100 against Baltimore. I don't love that one as much, but like Daniel Jones at 5K in a new offense with a very specific number of receivers to throw to. Nobody really at tight end that's going to soak it up. Galladay, Toney, another one of the mispriced players on this slate. You can go with Wandale if you want. Saquon Barkley, in my opinion, also mispriced. The Giants, a very potentially good offense for this slate. As I said, the number 1 player on the slate to me is going to be Jonathan Taylor. In his 2 games against Houston last year, he put up like 28 DraftKings points and 31 DraftKings points. Not that past performance is indicative of future, outcomes, but like he's still really, really good, and they still really have a great offensive line, and Houston still sucks. So like, good luck stopping JT, and there's merit in just saying, you know what, I'm going to pay 9,100 for Jonathan Taylor. I'm going to stick him in the lineup, and I'm going to let you try and figure out where you're going to make up those 25 plus points from, because I know I'm getting my 25 plus points from him, right? Like, that's just fine. So like, I'm going to put him in the lineup right now, and I'm going to build it around him.
He's a legend.
Kaiser Soze, thank you very much for the 24 months. Says hi, Al. Hi to you two guys. Chat, that divides by 12, so you got to do the little VIP thing in the chat for him. Other running backs that are pricey. The over 8K running backs. Derrick Henry, returning from injury against the Giants at home. You know that he's going to get a heavy dose. Christian McCaffrey, not out yet. So if he is not out yet, you should probably look into playing Christian McCaffrey. If you want to play a team jam him in lineup and go with Christian McCaffrey and Jonathan Taylor and find the value with the mispriced players at other positions, fine. I don't think that you have to, for the simple fact that there's enough mispriced players on the slate that you can get a value running back. But like, we can very easily, like I said, Toney is mispriced. He's 4,100. I'll explain why when we get to the wide receivers. Paris Campbell, also mispriced at 3,300, right? Because he is the secondary guy here. Not sure I would want 2 of these Indianapolis Colts in one lineup to go with, but with 5K remaining and a defense, and we can find a 2,500 or less defense, it's very easy to build out a lineup in week 1 on DraftKings, even with a team jam them in perspective, going with Taylor and McCaffrey. So just letting you know that that's the way that you can go if you choose. I'm not going to go that way for this lineup. So Austin Ekeler at 8,200, easy. One of the highest totaled games. The Raiders, really not good last year at stopping the run. They still don't project, or stopping running backs from scoring fantasy points. I still don't see that being a problem. These 20 touchdowns are going to be hard to replicate for Austin Ekeler, and a lot of his value was in the touchdowns that he had last year, but a lot of his value for us on a week-to-week basis, projectably, the touchdowns are not going to be sticky. The targets and catches and high-powered offense and 12 to 15 touches, those are going to be sticky. And then we have the possibility of touchdown upside as well. Ekeler has asked for a step back in his usage this year because it's very difficult for him to stay healthy. He said he was in pain last year constantly because of how much usage he got. So expect a step back in terms of his running back share of snaps and touches. Isaiah Spiller will fill a little bit of those, but realistically, Austin Ekeler is still going to eat as a 65-70% back with a heavy usage in an amazing passing game. But 8,200, more than fair for this price. If you want to save 900 to come down from Taylor to Ekeler, knowing that you're going to get a higher usage in the pass game from him and a possibly a higher floor, but like the 100-yard bonus with 3 points more often than not will make up for that with JT. He still gets a good amount of targets, 3-4 per game, and the touchdown upside is just absolutely massive. Dalvin Cook at 7,900. Alvin Kamara, clearly dependent on whether or not he is suspended for week 1. Joe Mixon going against Pittsburgh, who was a bit of a sieve last year, 7,100. Now this is where we're getting into the value zone, which is basically all these running backs. You can even start with Mixon, but realistically from 7K to 6K, there's a lot of value in here. James Conner at home, not favored, massive total in this game. You know that he's going to get the work inside the 5. When Edmonds was out last year, we saw a drastic shift in his usage, giving him a ton more targets per game. He's only 7K, well worth it. DeAndre Swift at 6,800, same sort of a situation. Expecting a lot of usage for him this year. I'm not expecting more than 60 to 65% of the snaps and touches, but they're high value snaps and touches. We're hoping that he gets more of the usage inside the 5, and I think that the Lions are going to be one of the more improved teams on the season. High floor here for him because of the pass game usage, but you're going to get frustrated multiple times this year when you play DeAndre Swift, because you're going to be like, why is Jamal Williams on the field? Why is some other running back on the field and it's not DeAndre Swift? Like, in this range, you can find other players who will be on the field a lot more. Aaron Jones probably going to take more of a DeAndre Swift type look in his workload. It's going to look a lot more like this, where he's going to get 5, 6, 7 targets per game. And maybe AJ Dillon does the pounding between the tackles because they just don't have all that many guys to throw to on the outside with the absence of Davante Adams on the outside. Means that Aaron Jones is going to be used a little bit more in the passing game this year. And that's good for us in daily fantasy on a week in, week out basis, especially on DraftKings with bonuses and full PPR. Nick Chubb, not going to get used in the passing game, still exists in a situation with Kareem Hunt. Unless Kareem Hunt gets traded, I'm probably not going to be playing Nick Chubb in week 1. This is not a situation that I want to get into. I think his price is going to go down as the weeks go on. Harris, going to get a lot of usage this year. His usage in the passing game buoys him a ton. You see Mattison priced up to 6,200. I actually really like that DraftKings did this because if Dalvin Cook, who is priced where, like 7,800, 7,900, if he gets injured and Alex Mattison is priced at like 48 or 4,900, he is a must play. So if you look at where the guys are priced at the top of the chart, right? If Derrick Henry goes down, is his backup a must play? No. Christian McCaffrey, is Chumbawamba a must play if he gets hurt? No. Is Spiller a must play? Maybe. Spiller might be a must play if Ekeler goes down through training camp. Dalvin Cook at 7,900. When he goes down, you know Mattison just steps into that same role. Kamara, when he misses games, you know that Mark Ingram is going to play a role, and they've got him priced up at 5,900. So I really like what DraftKings did, pricing up the backups, the most predictable backups that they know would kind of break the slate in terms of roster percentage. So good job by them on doing that. But a mispriced player once again is right here, Saquon Barkley. I'm gonna have an issue because I may have to limit Saquon Barkley and Kadarius Toney in lineups. Now, if you're playing in cash games and you're only really worried and focused on volume with the potential for touchdown upside, I'm fine playing both of them. And I still am advocating for, if you are a low dollar player and have access to and could benefit from playing $1, $2, $3, $5 head-to-head games, you should take advantage of that, as it will make a difference in your bankroll. If you're a $25 a week player, a $50 a week player, a $100 a week player, you should be allocating a good amount of your play, of that, money, 25, 50% of that should be going towards low dollar cash games, because that can buoy your bankroll while still giving you a possibility for massive upside in GPPs. That being said, I probably don't want to have too many shares of Saquon Barkley and Kadarius Toney in lineups because of the total in this game being at 43. How many touchdowns are going to be there? And in tournaments, you have to capture or give yourself access to, 1, volume, but 2, as much touchdown upside as possible. And playing both Giants in the same lineup probably limits that. You'd have to think of the probability. What percentage of the time is Saquon Barkley and Kadarius Toney going to get 3 touchdowns between them, right? How many times are they going to total 50 fantasy points together in week 1? And if you believe that that number is going to be higher than the combined percentage that they are going to be played on rosters, then go for it. But if not, you probably can't do that. But Saquon Barkley as a one-off, I really like at running back. He's just too cheap. So looking at wide receivers, Davante Adams at 8,100, ridiculous player, but like if you have not watched the Do Not Draft video on the new fantasy football channel, definitely go check that out. smizzle.tv/ff will take you to that channel, and if you're not subscribed, it'll automatically give you a sub to that channel, or you just click one button to do that. My Do Not Draft list, top 5 players that I'm not drafting at ADP, Davante Adams, because I don't think that he's going to have the same touchdown upside playing with Derek Carr that he had with Aaron Rodgers, playing with Hunter Renfrow, playing with Darren Waller, as opposed to playing with like MVS and Alan Lazard. Those other players command the ball. They get separation. They are open. Not that Davante Adams can't get open, but like when you have multiple players, the ball is going to go to other spots. Now, I can't make a decision on him just yet. I do think he's going to be a very good tournament play, as he may come in a lot lower considering the price of both Renfrow and Waller, and the matchup here as a secondary stack with pick one of the Chargers and then pick one of Davante. Say you go with like, I don't know, EKELER and Adams, or Big Mike and Adams, gives you a secondary stack of one of the highest potential scoring games and a premium player that not many people are going to play, who still does have 2 touchdown upside. I just don't think there's 15 touchdown upside on the season, but on a week-to-week basis, he certainly has that. So tournament only play for me there. Justin Jefferson, dude's just always open. Again, I like this game. Another game where we want to stack through. Debo, Jamar, he could not be more ridiculous. Jamar Chase. The touchdowns may regress a little bit, but I would think that the volume is going to come up a little bit also, which is going to, this is through the playoffs. He did not see 163 regular season targets. That includes the playoff games where he saw 8 and 9 and 6. So subtract those, and that gives you his season total. I could see him getting 160 to 165 targets throughout the regular season, which would help overcome the touchdown regression on efficiency. He could still get to this number, but he would require more volume to get there. Keenan Allen at 7,000 and Mike Williams at 6,600. DraftKings was very aggressive in pricing the Chargers pass game, which is probably going to hold down the percentage that both of those players are going to be played, because of the players that we have down in this range down here. The 6,500 to like 5,000 range is packed with players who have, I don't know, the potential to get you 8+ targets. AJ Brown in a new situation at 6,400, one of the most efficient and talented wide receivers in the league. DJ Moore going against Cleveland with improved quarterback play, has always been a target monster, but has always seen ridiculously off-target throws. There is a big upgrade here going from Sam Darnold to Baker Mayfield, so I am in on DJ Moore. 6,000 is a fair price. Deontay Johnson, like, is always a play for me. He's 6K. He's always going to get double-digit targets, and I think athletically he gets an upgrade at quarterback, right? Ben Roethlisberger, Hall of Famer, great quarterback, multiple Super Bowl, like all whatever. But like athletically last year, Ben Roethlisberger was not the quarterback that he used to be. Mentally, he was. He could see what defenses were going to do and predict what was going to happen, but like the body could not perform what the brain knew was going to happen, and so efficiencies dipped and that offense struggled. But even with that, he still had 112 catches and 9 touchdowns. How are we fading him at 6K? It's still super cheap. It's still a very viable situation and very easy to use as like a secondary stack. I'm not plugging him in the line, but like, let's say you do this. I just want a secondary stack from that game. Real easy to get to. Not hard at all, right? Not difficult to get to that in the least bit. Hunter Renfrow at 5,800. I'd probably prefer Johnson or Moore to him. Michael Thomas is interesting because he's healthy again. We will see if he is ready to go in week 1. He's practicing with the team already. Michael Pittman, everybody's favorite guy on ADP. He has climbed ridiculously high on ADP. The youngster did very well last year, but like these targets are going to have to climb for him to really pay this off. I do love the matchup in this spot, and based on what I believe Jonathan Taylor is going to be, going with a Matt Ryan, Michael Pittman double stack, possibly with Paris Campbell if they don't sign anybody else, Paris Campbell being 3,300, gives you a contrarian double going away from, maybe you bring it back with Cooks or with Nico Collins or something like that if you wanted to get a little bit frisky. But filling my lineup with 4 players from the morning games, probably not the route that I wanted to go. Adam Thielen at 54. We talked about Smith. Bateman at 53 if you're playing a Lamar Jackson stack or a skinny stack or a double stack. Brandon AIYUK, I think, is going to have a bigger year than he had last year when he spent like the first half of the season in a doghouse getting no usage. I would expect his usage to be more like this, 6 to 8 targets, possibly 6 to 9 targets, which would be extremely nice in comparison to what he had last year. But Juju Smith-Schuster is just way too cheap. Why? Right? This is not what he's going to do. He's healthy. He's not playing with a noodle-armed quarterback anymore. He's playing on an offense where he is the #1 outside option. KELCE is probably going to lead the team in terms of target market share, but if Juju Smith-Schuster is going to get 20% of Patrick Mahomes' targets, I want Juju Smith-Schuster in my lineups. And I'm going to start with him there for this one, which means I kind of want to have a little bit of correlation for my lineup here. And like Hollywood Brown is 6,200, passes the shower narrative with his quarterback, Kyler Murray. He's still cheap enough for me to get to him. I don't have to do all that much. It gives me exposure to this game. And in the absence of DeAndre Hopkins, Marquise Brown could see 20 to 25% of the target market share for Arizona. So there's a little secondary stack that is very easy to get to. I had mentioned before that there are 2 mispriced guys on the list. I may not end the lineup for week 1 this way. Nico Collins, fine at 4,200. I mentioned Paris Campbell at 3,300. But like, look at the players who are priced for more than Kadarius Toney. Now realize that Sterling Shepard is going to be out. Realize that it's Toney, Galladay, and probably Wandale, who are going to be the starting 3 wide receivers in what should be a higher volume pass game offense. So Galladay is 4,800. Sterling Shepard, who is coming back from an Achilles and probably not going to be ready for week 1, probably going to be on the PUP list and out for the first 6 weeks, is 4,900. Kadarius Toney, excuse me, what? Why is he 4,100? Now, granted, dude had problems staying healthy last year, but when he was on the field, especially later in the year, this was a game where he got injured in the middle of a game. He had that 1 catch and he left with an ankle injury. He projects to be a massive target monster, and getting him the ball in space is going to be extremely important to this Giants off. 4,100 for the amount of targets that he does project to get, let's say between 6 and 10 targets per week, seems like it's going to be absurd for him to be 4,100, especially with as shifty as he is, a human joystick who can get to the house anytime they get the ball into his hands. Extremely fast, very slippery. I love Kadarius Toney in week 1. And yes, I know I have Barkley in this lineup, but it's way too early. And that's what my first looks lineup is going to look like right now. Jay Cuddle Life, thank you for the 59 months. 1 away from 5 years. God, we've had a sub button for like 5 years on this channel. That's ridiculous. Taking a quick look. Let's go to defense just to see where we can get to, right? So like defense, we're not going to pay up in a first look. We want to pay below 3,000. There's plenty of guys up here that you can go with, plenty of defense you could go with. Like the Chargers at 33 are one of my more favored defenses here above 3,000, because Las Vegas is going to have to drop back a ton, and CARR is not a running quarterback. So that means more pass attempts, means more opportunities, or more in the pocket dropbacks, means more opportunities at sacks, especially with what they've got and what they've added on that Chargers defense to be able to pressure quarterbacks, which means more opportunities for like fat man touchdowns, the thick 6, or more pick 6s coming back on the outside on errant throws off of a rushed passer. You can do the same thing with the Eagles if you want, though they are on the road, but defense is highly variant. So I want to pay as little as possible. So like the Lions, who were already a tough defense last year and already like we're getting pressure on the quarterback. That's the one thing we want, right? We want projectable dropbacks, and we want a team that can rush the passer. We want a quarterback who has the potential to be inefficient through fumbles or interceptions. Well, we get all of that with the exception of possibly like Philadelphia only dropping back 25, 30 times. But Hurts does have the probability of fumbling, does throw interceptions. And the Lions are 2K, the absolute bare minimum on DraftKings, leaving us with 5,700 to fill out this lineup. As I already said, there is a mispriced player at tight end, but let's look at who the other players are. Mark Andrews at 6,800, probably going to lead the league in terms of market share of targets at the tight end position. He is priced accordingly at 68. Travis Kelce at 66. Hopefully the Chiefs throw him the ball more when they get inside the 10-yard line, inside the 5-yard line, because he had like a career low of end zone touchdowns last year and still ended the season and playoffs with 14 touchdowns. If you throw him the ball more in the big painted area at the end of the field, that's where he wins. And stop doing all this softball windmill throws and like giving the ball to your third string tight end. Like, enough of the belldozer already. Get the ball to the guy who makes touchdowns happen in 2022, please. George Kittle, 5,900. Kyle Pitts is going to be an absolute target monster. Hopefully they line him up more against linebackers and safeties, something that Mike Clay was hammering all last year, something that I saw Dwayne McFarland talk about yesterday. I quote tweeted that and totally agree. Even if you look at every tight end that's ever played, right? And typically we like it when tight ends get a higher routes run per quarterback dropback, right? That's the key stat to me. Routes run per dropback. It's much easier to catch a pass when you're running a pass route as opposed to when you're blocking, right? So we want guys that run routes. However, lining up at the slot or lining up wide outside does not lead to more efficiency. You are going to run more routes, obviously, if you're lined up outside, but you're going to be lined up outside against a cornerback whose job it is to stop people from being able to get open and get separation. Now, tight ends, obviously slower than wide receivers, not as quick as wide receivers to get in and out of breaks, so they find it more difficult to get separation. But Al, it's the guy is really short and they have a size advantage. It doesn't matter. Rob Gronkowski in his career was way more efficient when lined up against a linebacker, or a safety versus when he was lined up against a cornerback. So that's where you get them their advantage. Kyle Pitts struggled through the same thing last year. He struggled to get separation in snaps where he was lined up against a cornerback, a defensive back. You want him lined up against safeties or linebackers. Hopefully the Falcons do that a little bit more with drafting Drake London to put him on the outside. They brought in Edwards, put him on the outside, put Kyle Pitts up against linebackers and safeties who cannot stay with him. The size advantage is not as big as the speed and separation ability advantage. Get him against linebackers and safeties. We know the targets are coming his way. I believe that this touchdown number is going to improve in year 2, but hopefully it happens on a more week-to-week basis by them doing just that. Waller is 5,400. Great to use with your Chargers double stacks as a bring back player, as the Chargers don't really have a dominant tight end right now. Possibly Everett, possibly Parham, doesn't matter. Waller would be my primary bring back in my Herbert stacks as I look at it right now. Goddard against Detroit is 4,500. Zach Ertz, extremely likely to be a play at 4,400 in the absence of Hopkins. You're going to hear so many people tell you that he's dust. He's not good anymore. He can't do anything. I just care about these numbers here. I care about the amount of targets that he's going to get. We talked about routes run per drop back at tight end, and you have vacated targets in Arizona. So if they're only going to throw the ball behind the line of scrimmage to Rondale Moore, and DeAndre Hopkins is going to be out, and Marquise Brown, who showed an ability to be able to win more at the short and intermediate range last year, which is, I guess, what you're going to have to do in the horizontal rate offense for Arizona, Zach Ertz is able to win in that range and get you an awful lot of catches for 4,400 in a game that does project as one of the better shootouts on the slate. But him being at 4,400 and Irv Smith for Minnesota in a more pass-heavy offense being already at 3,400, if he's healthy in week 1, and he does project to be healthy and play at 100% in week 1, in my opinion, as we sit right now, is the most mispriced tight end on the slate. So I'm going to go with him in that spot, leaving me a very nice $6,950 remaining. We can pay up for a quarterback here. We could pay up for a flex spot here. So let's find a quarterback that we like. I'm going to go with a one-off guy. If I plug Trey Lance into this spot, that leaves me 7,900. If I plug Jones into this spot, that leaves me with 8,900 left to spend, which means I can afford the big dog at 8,600, giving me a New York Giants double stack and bring back. But I'm not going to do that because I don't want to have two running backs from the same game. I am going to go with Christian McCaffrey. As long as he's healthy, he's the guy that I want to have in my lineup. The ability to score 25 fantasy points with his ridiculous usage without getting into the end zone, and historically has seen a lot of usage inside the 5 as well. There's my first look lineup. Jones, Taylor, Barkley, Juju Smith-Schuster, Marquise Hollywood Brown, Kadarius Toney, Irv Smith Jr., Christian McCaffrey, and the Lions defense with 400 left on the table. It's week 1. Salaries are always going to be a little bit deflated. You're going to be able to build whatever you want. So focus on correlation for tournaments, focus on your bring back stacks, and focus on your secondaries as well once we get there. And look out for a ton more content on this channel and the fantasy football channel throughout the preseason. Best of luck to you guys. Look out for another video right there.
He's a legend.